Alrighty, so here we go. It's time to do the mega review after I made the executive decision to only look at 3 games that happened yesterday, which are the Sunday game. And let's just jump straight in because, I know this video is going to be epic long. Don't want to spend too many time rambling in the intro and talk about what we saw in terms of this week. So let's jump straight into the first game we're going to talk about, which is Inter Miami and Toronto FC. So normally when a team get a bounce back win after a historic collapse like what we saw with Inter Miami did, it's usually a good thing. You would definitely applaud for them, and some might say that that might be the case for this Inter Miami team. But then again, this is a team that I've said many times before. Even after a win, there are always going to be some people that's going to have some criticism in terms of how things have gone, and I think this is another example of it. Where yes, on one hand, it's good that Inter Miami bounced back after that historic collapse they have against Orlando City, but it still does not solve the big problem. There is still a lot of concern about this team, and the biggest concern and the biggest question of this team really is left unsolved after this win as well, and that is their defense is still leaking goals left, right, and center. In fact, if this game would have gone another 20 minutes and have Toronto actually started out a little bit of a comeback a little earlier, we might have seen a repeat of the Orlando City Inter Miami game that happened in this one between Toronto and Inter Miami. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Coelho hits it right to Dane Sinclair. Henry then puts it wide from long range. As I thought Toronto started the better side early in this month. Or in this game, Miami definitely still not only suffering from the after effect of that historic collapse they have against Orlando, but keep in mind this is an early start, and while Toronto is to this early start because for the past 9 games, all their home games except for one starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and even for an Eastern Conference team, that is still a really early start, and Miami is not used to start that early of the game. So you can kind of see that they were definitely slow off the block in this one. Kerr would then puts it over after Miami turned the ball over before Franklin would puts it wide from long range in the 24th minute. But that being said, with all these chances that Toronto has had, you got to say they got to capitalize on one of them because we said it many times before. What is the number one thing you do not want to do when you face against Inter Miami? Miss your chances, because when you miss your chances, they're going to eventually get into this game, and then it's pretty much game over after that. And little do we know, that's exactly what happened. The first shot for Miami did see Messi puts it high on the free kick. Messi then puts it wide from close to the 37th minute. No doubt Miami has started to got into this game after a slow start. They're looking to try to get the opener, and they do. As in the 44th minute, DePaul would score a wonderful goal here to give Inter Miami a 1-0 lead. I wrote goal of the week, and this was back when I wrote down the notes of these. This is like right when the first game just finished as well. I didn't think that we were gonna get a lot of bangers. I thought this was probably gonna be handed and nailed down as the goal of the week, knowing the fact that Inter Miami fans are probably gonna stuff the votes, and some people will say that that's probably maybe the reason why DePaul's gonna win the goal of the week this week. But let's be honest, there is just so many bangers that scored this week. I mean, I tell you what, this is probably one of the toughest week for all the MLS fans to vote of who's going to win the goal of the week. And there's definitely going to be a lot of snub, too. I guarantee you when the league basically released the list of who is going to win the goal of the week this week, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people in the comment section that's going to say, well, what about this goal? I mean, this was a banger as well. Why is this being left off in the final list of goal of the week this week? In the second minute of stoppage time, Shari did look to answer, but he was denied by Dane Sinclair. But we do head to halftime with Miami taking a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Suarez would put it just wide from the curler. Miami definitely picked up where they left off, trying to get the second goal, and they do. As Luis Suarez would score from Messi and DePaul to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami. Messi then looked to try to score himself, look for the third goal, but Galvran was there to deny him on the free kick. And you kind of sense that Miami kind of learned their lesson after the last game. They can't just simply keep their foot off the gas. We've seen it so many times this season where this team doesn't play a full 90 minutes. They start to put the foot off the gas way too early and start to think that they can just cruise their way to get a win when in reality that's not the case. But in this game, they knew that 2-0 is not safe, especially with how bad their defense has been. They need to score more goals. Dane Sinclair on the other end denied Monlouis from the corner, but then the 73rd minute, Miami does make it 3-0 as Reguilon would score his first career MLS goal from Messi to make it 3-0 in favor of Miami, and that's definitely a special goal for Reguilon as well. He has definitely had his injury problems ever since he joined this Inter Miami side, so it's great to see him on the pitch and finally score his first goal despite having a bit of a difficult season in terms of staying on the pitch. And then just 2 minutes later, Messi himself would finally score. So he scored here from DePaul to make it 4-0. You know, a blowout up to this point is not without Messi scoring a goal, and there he is, scoring here to make it 4-0. And I mean, well, hopefully this should be enough, right? I mean, 4-0, 15 minutes to go. There's no way Miami is gonna make this more interesting than it needs to be, right? Right? Well, Messi did try to make it 5-0, but he was denied by Gavron. But then in the 82nd minute, Emilio would get one back for Toronto. So he scored here from Showery to make it 4-1 in favor of Miami. And then 8 minutes later, he would score again. This time from Franklin and Zimmerman to make it 4-2 in favor of Miami. And this is when when I mean, well, uh-oh, is this happening again for this Inter Miami team? Because keep in mind, we had 8 minutes of stoppage time, and knowing TFC games and especially how their 9 game home stretch where it just feels like every single game there's some crazy event that is going to happen, and knowing that this is a Miami team that known to just go into meltdown mode, you're thinking, is this happening again? Like this would have been even a more catastrophic meltdown than what we saw against Orlando City if they somehow found a way to blow this. Zimmerman would then heads and high from the corner in the 11 minute of stoppage time. But the good news is for Inter Miami, crisis is awarded. They do win this one 4-2 in this one. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 13 that Toronto has, 5 shots on goal for the 6 that Miami has, 3 shots off target for the 6 that Toronto has. Both teams had 2 shots on block and possession wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Toronto has in this game. And like I said, the crises were avoided for Inter Miami, but it still does not solve the ultimate problem with this team. The defense, once again, in this game was not good whatsoever. And I reiterate what I said. If the playoffs started today, I don't think this Inter Miami team is going to go very far in the playoffs. And this is even with the East this year being much weaker than we've seen in previous season. I mean, right now, I feel like that fear factor against this Inter Miami team is not there anymore. Yes, the attack is still full of talented players, but when you look at the defense, I mean, every team in the East are basically licking their chops, saying we can definitely go at this Inter Miami defense. Like this is probably one of the bottom tier defense in the league this season, and as a result, this is why they've been playing in these very interesting game, and why, as I said, even in the wins that Inter Miami has had, it just kind of doesn't feel like it's a good win. Consider this team should be better than what they are with all the talent that they have. There's no excuses in terms of having a game like they did in the last one, and then in this one, just once again having problem trying to keep a clean sheet, and also just for once actually give Inter Miami fans a little bit of a relaxation mode late in the game. But for Toronto, they at least show some fight late in this one. But for TFC, the problem for this game, and this is going to be a thing that might come back to haunt them. I don't think they got enough points doing this long home stretch to really get themselves set up to potentially make the playoffs. I mean, that of course can all change if they do well doing this long spell of play where they're not going to play another home game until August. They might still be able to make the playoffs, but yeah, you got to win your home games. And I know this one was probably never going to be a game that they would win, especially facing against an angry Inter Miami team. But yeah, you look at all the points that they dropped during this 9 game home stretch. That's definitely going to come back to bite TFC big, especially if they do miss out on the playoff by maybe less than 5 points. Because I can easily say that there is at least 5 points during this 9 game home stretch that this TFC has had that they probably we wish that they can have back if they did not give up late goals to blow those games. Now moving on in terms of the next match in Chicago and the New York Red Bulls. So yeah, for the Chicago Fire, it feels like they're dealing with what we see a lot of Eastern Conference teams have been dealing with, even the good ones. And that is a little bit of a slump because they're going the wrong way in these last couple of games. That's now back-to-back loss and 3 straight losses in all competition if you include the Open Cup loss that they had against St. Louis. In the first half, Bamba looked like he got the opening goal for the Fire, but the flag did not agree with him as it was disallowed for offside. Elliott would then head it wide on the free kick. The Fire definitely were in control early in this one, looking for the opener, though the shots were only 2-0, 20 minutes into this one. Cal with the Red Bulls' first shot of the game, but he hits it right to Brady. Ziganago would then miss wide after he tried to chip Horvat there, who was way off his line. Even Horvat is very lucky that he was not get caught there because Ziganago, we know he can hit one from long distance. Didn't quite do so in this one. Forsberg would then hit it wide from close range before Horvat would deny Ziganago from close, as both of these teams were exchanging some chances. But the question is, we can get that lead before we head to halftime? The answer is the New York Red Bulls, as in the 45th minute, Rivacolba would score from Frostberg and Mimedi to give the lead for the Red Bulls, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half as well. And they carry that momentum into the second half as well. As in the 49th minute, Kay Cowell would score his first goal for the Red Bulls. Always great to see a former Quakes player scoring a goal as well. I always say this with former Loons players scoring, especially as we'll get a little bit deeper into this long review, how there was one specific former uh, player that plays for my favorite team that scored in this one that I actually cheer louder than I've ever have when it comes to this season watching MLS action that doesn't involve Minnesota or the San Jose Earthquakes. But yeah, great to see Cal finally get his first goal for the Red Bulls. Obviously, it's been kind of a mediocre time during his time with the Red Bulls. He hasn't really been impressive during his time with the Red Bulls. But hey, at least finally get his first goal here as he scored here from Duncourt and Volater to give the Red Bulls a 2-0 lead. Kuipers did look to respond, but his shot was blocked away. Horvat would then deny Haile Selassie in the 52nd minute before Avila actually had a chance to put away on the rebound, but it was wide, and it was good response for the Fire. They were looking to try to get one back. Horvat then denied Kuipers from close range. This was probably one of the best games that Ethan Horvat has played for the New York Red Bulls. He made some huge saves in this game, denying these Fire player of a chance to score a goal. Puso then had a shot that was clear off the line by Nealis there. So yeah, you just kind of feel like it's one of those afternoon for the Chicago Fire where they just cannot show their finishing touch. But there was also no doubt that the Red Bulls are hanging on for dear life. The Fire were pushing hard to try to make this interestingly in this one. Nealis would then have a rare opportunity for the Red Bulls, but he missed wide before a penalty was given to the Red Bulls. They go to VAR to see whether or not if Mehmeti was brought down by Brady, and he was. So we go to the spot here with Choupo-Moting, a chance to pretty much put this game on ice for the New York Red Bulls, and he does exactly that from the spot. So it's 3-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. Mascara did look to make it 4, but he missed wide there in the 84th minute. But in the 87th minute, the shutout was ruined for the Fire as Hugo Kuipers, he's in that amble. He's going to eventually score a goal there and there. Well, he scored here to make it 3-1 in favor of the Red Bulls. Horvat actually did make the save here, but unfortunately, Kuiper was there in the right place at the right time because that's what Hugo Kuiper does. I'm still kind of befuddled why the Chicago Fire are thinking of getting Robert Lewandowski this summer. I mean, I get that the namesake is definitely going to be there, and that's definitely another big name that's going to be coming into this league, and definitely sell a lot of Fire shirts if he decide to come to this team. But it just kind of makes no sense because Hugo Kuipers has been red hot. Unless if they decided to maybe move on from Hugo Kuipers this summer, which I wouldn't be surprised that might be the case. He's definitely getting some offer in Europe. It really does not make sense to get Lewandowski, and unless they of course play a two striker system, which I think that's kind of what Greg Berhalter has been trying to do, and it just haven't been successful whatsoever. We'll see whether or not if they do decide to get Lewandowski, and if they do decide to put the two striker system, that is of course if Hugo Kuipers is still here with this team, whether of course would work or not. But yeah, like I said, I'm just kind of confused of why they decided to get Lewandowski when it's pretty clear that the biggest need for this Fire team, at least doing this losing run, is once again the same thing we said last season. Their defense have not been great, and as a result, they lose this game. 3-1 is the win that the Red Bulls had against Chicago. It's also keep in mind that Bakazi did not play in this one. He's actually been injured the last couple of games, which maybe that kind of explains why this Fire defense have completely fallen apart, because without him, you can see that this is pretty much the same Fire defense from last season, and that Fire defense was very bad last season. Shots in this one, 17 shots for the 9 that the Red Bulls had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Fire, or yeah, 4 shots compared to 5 that the Fire has. Both teams had 4 shots that was off target, 8 shots that was blocked for the none that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession the New York Red Bulls has in this game. And if you're the New York Red Bulls, I mean, if you're a Red Bulls fan, yes, you're happy that you got a big win against a good Eastern Conference team and a result that I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. Though I would also say that the New York Red Bulls this season, they're kind of like the Houston Dynamo of the Eastern Conference. You just don't know what kind of Red Bulls team will show up. This has been a very inconsistent team under Michael Bradley, and it's also kind of a team that I expect to be inconsistent because that's what happened when you decide to put a lot of youngsters. There's going to be games that they're going to be up for it. There's going to be games that it's going to be a challenge, and it just kind of feels like we're starting to see that again in this one where you just don't know. Like you just don't know if you're gonna get a good Red Bull side or you're gonna get a very bad Red Bull side. And I think it's safe to say that this was a good Red Bull side that showed up in this game against the Chicago Fire. And it's also not surprised that I make that comparison to the Houston Dynamo because that Houston Dynamo team that's been a mystery box, well, they definitely played good against LAFC and they were on the end of a big win against LAFC on the road as well. Now, moving on in the next game is Montreal and Orlando, and I thought this was going to end 0-0. Like I thought this was one of those typical games where nobody could finish, which is not a big surprise when it's against two very bad Eastern Conference team. But then Montreal eventually got their act together late in this game and find that clinical finishing late in this one. In the first half, Crepeau denied Carmona, but it then fall back to him on a second effort, but he missed wide there. Montreal was definitely on the front foot. They definitely pressed early for the lead. There was a shout for a penalty from Montreal not given. Jaime would then puts it over from close range before Atuesta would miss wide as that was Orlando's first shot of the game as well. But Orlando did start to get into this game. They definitely did not start on time in this game against Montreal. They started to get a little bit more possession, trying to create some more chances. Dorsey would hit one that was actually spilled by Gillier. Luckily, he wasn't being punished because he gathered on the second attempt. The shots were 6-free for Montreal 32 minutes in up to this point. Carmona would then hits the side netting, which some fans thought that it went in, and I don't blame those fans because when I first look at it, I thought it went in too. With the way how there's like that illusion, the fact that the ball kind of hit the near the side netting and then it hits the back section of the netting as well. It definitely looked like it went in, but it didn't. It goes wide there. Letary would then had a shot that was deflected wide. Montreal was pressing late again to try to get the lead first half. And they almost did if it wasn't for the post. Kind of saving Iago here. I mean, this was definitely a heart and head moment or a head and heart moment for Iago there. Not a great job in terms of heading that clearance away, and the post kind of saved him of an embarrassing own goal. So we had a chance from Longstaff late in the first half that was put wide, but we do head to halftime. Despite Montreal putting a lot of pressure, it's still 0-0 heading into the second half, and it was kind of the same thing in the second half. A lot of chances for both of these teams, neither of them really showing their clinical finishing. Petrasso would miss high from long range in the 47th minute before Spicer hits it off the side netting. Iago would then hits it right to Gillier in the 57th minute, and then Crepeau 1 minute later would deny Petrasso from close range. Again, both of these teams exchanging some chances, but the clinical finishing was just not being found there, and that's why it's still 0-0. Leturi would then puts it high from close. Owusu would just miss a free header in the back post. Yeah, that is one that Prince Owusu would want to have back. Ojeda would then hit a one hopper right to Julier. Bugai would then skies one to Quebec City. You just kind of had a feeling up to this point. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a goal in this one. Neither of these teams has been great in terms of the finishing whatsoever. Owusu also puts one to Quebec City in the 75th minute, and then he was in on goal here. He actually round the keeper here, but somehow in some way, Robin Janssen kind of out of nowhere was able to save that one off the line, and yeah, that's just that kind of day for Prince Owusu. It was a very rough afternoon for him in front of goal, just not showing the clinical finishing that we see he does sometimes with Montreal. But the shots were 20-8 up to this point, but there's only been 7 shots that's on target. So that is another prime example of the fact that despite how many shots that both of these teams has had, there wasn't a lot that either of these goalkeeper has to do with Orlando actually leading that in terms of shots on target for free. They also mentioned that fact that Orlando City has not kept a clean sheet in the last 27 games, and yeah, that graphics was definitely a jinx because literally a couple of minutes after they talked about Orlando looking for their first clean sheet in 27 games, a penalty was given to Montreal. Schreut was brought down by Janssen there, so Roman Janssen, he was the hero just a couple of minutes ago making that goal line clearance. Well, he went from hero to zero here, making a rare mistake here to bring down Strike there. So here comes Danny Rios, a chance to give Montreal a much deserved lead from the spot. He hasn't scored up to this point for Montreal, and he finally does it after this point. His first goal in a Montreal jersey comes from the spot here, and a crucial one too, because that gave Montreal a 1-0 lead. Not long after, Daggerdan for Holson would score his first for Montreal from Longstaff to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal, and it was an absolute banger too from Daggerdan for Holson. He's a guy that has that bangers only kind of characteristic, and he actually really celebrated as well, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, he's very well loved in the Orlando City fan base, and I guess he probably celebrated very hard, mainly because of the fact that, yeah, I don't think he was happy that he was let go of Orlando City and the fact that they decided not to re-sign him to a new contract. And I think Orlando City fans are probably surprised as I am, or maybe a little bit upset as he is, because of the fact that it kind of was strange to let go of one of their main weapon in the wingback position. And yeah, Dagger Dan Folson, he definitely had a vendetta against Orlando City in this one. And yeah, score against his former team that turns out to be his first goal for Montreal. As in the end, Montreal gets the win. It's another game where Orlando City does not have a clean sheet. It's now 28 games since Orlando City has last kept a clean sheet. Shots in this one, 25 shots compared to 9 that Orlando has, 4 shots on goal for the 6 that Montreal has, 8 shots off target for the 2 that Orlando City has, 3 shots on block for the 11 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Orlando City has in this game. I think after this game, you can also kind of say that I don't think either of these teams is going to make the playoffs. They didn't look good at all, especially in front of goal in this one, but that's kind of what we expected. I mean, these are two really bad teams facing off against each other, and I thought we had your typical classic 0-0 draw between two bad teams facing off against each other. Montreal had other ideas. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Galaxy and Atlanta United, and here comes the LA Galaxy. All of a sudden, this team, it feels like they're started to find their mojo again. I feel like this season, at least in the first 5 games, it looked like it was the first half of last season for the LA Galaxy. But these last couple of games, it feels like the second half of the LA Galaxy. Where if you remember last year, the second half of the LA Galaxy was actually a respectable team. I mean, yes, they didn't finish well in the standings, but that's all due to the fact that they have a 17 game winless run to start the season. Obviously, you're not going to finish well in the standings when you go the first half of the season without a win, but it feels like the Galaxy start to find their stride in these last couple of games, and they get another big win in this one. Early on, Latte Laugh with the game's first shot, but he missed wide. Lobjanidze then missed wide from long range, as Atlanta definitely start off the better side and look for the lead early. Sanabria would heads it right to Hoyos, as that was the Galaxy first shot, before Mark Sinkowski denied Lobjanidze from close, as the shots were 3-1 for Atlanta. Atlanta definitely were the better team early in this one, but then we did go through a period where not much really happened. But Baracco would look to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead, but apparently there was a foul in the box, and I don't know about that. I think this is very soft. I don't think this should be called foul. And I get it. Yes, goalkeepers always get the benefit of the doubt, but it's getting to a point where they get a benefit of the doubt, and maybe they're getting way too much benefit of the doubt. Like even if there's minimal contact, they're always gonna whistle it. Which again, I just think it's got maybe at times a little too far in terms of the way that the goalkeeper, even with just so minimal contact, they would call a foul. Sometimes you just don't need to make those ticky tacky kind of foul, but. Nevertheless, we do head to halftime scoreless in this one. In the second half, Latte Lav looked like he opened the scoreline for Atlanta United. Problem was, this goal was also disallowed, and this time it was offside, and it was pretty obvious that it was offside as well. So still 0-0. Once again, Atlanta started it well in this one, trying to finally get that opener. Peck would then miss wide from long range before Jakob would struck the post on the volley. That was a thunderous strike from Thomas Jakob there. Didn't quite beat the post there. Miller would then puts it wide from close range before Mark Sinkowski denied Lobjanidze from close, as both of these teams were exchanging some chances again. But in the 69th minute, Atlanta finally scored the opener, as Jay Fortune would score here from Baez and Lobjanidze to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. And yeah, that's been coming. I mean, Atlanta, you just kind of had a sense that the old saying, third time is the charm. Yeah, third time is finally the charm. Finally, they get a goal that was not disallowed because of a soft foul in the box or offside as well. So they lead it 1-0. Marunchuk then looked for another, but he hits the side netting. But then the 74th minute, against the run of play, Gabriel Peck would score from Royce and Painto to make it 1-1 in this one. It also came off of a lightning counter attack as well. And just a couple of minutes later, Gabriel Peck would score again. Hoyos didn't make the save originally, but Peck got his own rebound and he fought the shot there, and you just immediately hear a pin drop inside the bench. And you kind of sense for Atlanta fans, they've seen this story many times before, just putting the self destruction but button, even though it looked like they were on verge of another big win as well. Hoyos would then deny Peck from close in the 86th minute. Atlanta had no answer in terms of the Galaxy Lightning transitional attack, and we know this Galaxy team has some good weapons going for on the counter attack. I mean, when you had guys like Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paints leading your attack, when you have even two of the free killer P's leading the transition, you better get out of the way because they're gonna more times or not going to find some chances to create for this Galaxy side. Santos would then head it wide from close in the first minute stoppage time. The Blues were once again raining down at full time as well because the Galaxy would get the win here against Atlanta. This mini free game winning streak in all competition for Atlanta is now officially over. Shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots on goal for the 6 that the Galaxy had, 2 shots off target for the 4 that Atlanta has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 1 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And don't look now, but the LA Galaxy is above the red line in the Western Conference. And as much as I've said before how the West has been really tough, because of the way that there are some teams that started to struggle lately, the Galaxy, because of them kind of been on a bit of a heater lately, they have really got themselves back into the playoff picture, and this is kind of what we thought that the Galaxy would look like. And what's it's kind of also interesting is that they're doing this without João Klaus. It feels like ever since João Klaus went down with that injury, it feels like the Galaxy was winning. So I don't want to say João Klaus was the main issue because João Klaus was scoring goals for this Galaxy side as well. But it's kind of interesting the fact that they're starting to find their stride a little bit, and we'll see whether or not that continue. But for Atlanta, yeah, the Atlanta is another example of a team that it's one step forward but two-step back in terms of just as you thought. Maybe they got out of their rut a little bit. Now they're back to the drawing board of trying to bounce back after another home defeat, something that has happened pretty much in a regular occurrence at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not just this season but in previous season as well. Well, that being said, I am now going to switch board for the first time in this video. There's going to be 4 times I'm going to be switching the board as well throughout this video. So yeah, let's switch the board for the first time of 4 in this mega review that I'm doing to finish up the review of match week number 12. All right, so moving on, we got Charlotte and Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, they got to a 2-0 start in this one after the first half, and they were really playing like they were a team in their last couple of seasons under Pat Nolan, a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference. And then the second half happened, and then the second half they remember that yeah they have no defense whatsoever. In the first half, Kalina would deny Evander, but it falls to Valenzuela who puts that one over before Kalina denied Mboma Dem from long range. And Cincinnati, no doubt, was a better team up to this point. They looked to try to get the opener. Pep Biel would miss wide from close before Ramirez would put it over from close range. Byrne would then miss it over from close in the 23rd minute before Tokamati would miss an absolute sitter. And yeah, that is one that Tokamati would want to have back. It's been kind of a slow start for Edon Tokamati. He had a really good season last year. He just haven't really quite discovered that in the second season. Kind of your typical sophomore slump that he's dealing with right now. But in the 36th minute, as soon as I said Charlotte looks like they're starting to get into this game and look for the opener, Cincinnati would get the opening goal. As Kevin Denke would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Kalina did make a great save there from Evander, but Denke was there to react first to tap that one in. So yeah, since they were up 1-0, and then just 7 minutes later, Evander would score. He scored from Buka and Hagelin to make it 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati, and that was vintage Evander. That looked like the MVP of it. Vander of an O with just an absolute disgusting of a chip to chip over Kalina. Like you have to be at an MVP level to try that kind of stuff, and it is pretty clear that Evander is confident. Right now, this is probably one of the best we have seen Evander have played for Cincinnati in the last couple of games, which is kind of mind-boggling because remember when he came back from injury, how he just does not look like the same. You wonder is that because of the fact that he rushed himself too quick to come back from his injury because now that he's back to full strength, he has started to show you why he is considered to be one of the most dangerous number 10 in this league. But we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 2-0, and like I said in the second half, even though Cincinnati had a 2-0 big lead, you just kind of had a sense it was like this is too good to be true, especially of how we play, and it was because here comes Charlotte trying to get some response. Tokamati would head it right to Sautano. Charlotte definitely started the second half. D. Smith probably had some choice words with his team of how bad that performance was in the first half, and his team really responded because in the 50th minute, Tokamati would score from Ream and Westwood to get one back for Charlotte, and then not long after, Pepiel would score from Diani and Schlegg to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And yeah, again, Cincinnati, they're not only just continue the theme of what we've seen the last 2 weeks of epic meltdown after scoring multiple goals, but But the fact that, yeah, they kind of remember that they don't have a defense, and there was no defense that was found for Cincinnati, at least in the beginning of the second half. Beal then looked to try to make it free too, but he missed wide there before Mboma Dem would miss wide in the back post. We did go for a pair where not much really happened. Westwood would puts it just wide from long range in the 88th minute, but in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 13 shots with 11 that Shard has, 3 shots off goal for the 5 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots off target for the 5 that Shard has, 3 shots as blocked for the 4 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Shard has in this game. And I don't think either of these teams is going to be happy with this performance. I mean, for Charlotte, it's another game where they gone without a win. Yes, they had a good comeback, but the fact that they're not being able to get any wins, and once again proved me right in terms of the fact that they are probably one of the biggest fraud in the Eastern Conference early this season. Yeah, they're definitely desperate to try to get a win, and they don't get it in this one. And for Cincinnati, they'll be frustrated because of the fact that they play so well in the first half. But there's a reason why this is a 90 minutes game, and for Cincinnati, as I said, this defense, just like Inter Miami, I feel like Cincinnati is having the same problem where, yes, this team definitely has enough high end talent to score the goals, but they do not have it enough in terms of the liability that this defense has. I mean, this defense has been just god awful for the Cincinnati team, and I don't think this team is going to go too far if they keep having the defense like they probably are definitely going to be looking in the summer transfer window to maybe even think about boosting up, even though it might kind of feel like it's crazy to say, consider the back line that they have. As I said, yes, it has dealt with some injury, but they are starting to get some of these guys back healthy as well. But you just kind of have a sense that maybe they might need a change of direction, and they need it fast with the way that this is a team that they really want to get themselves back into being a contender in the East. They have to fix that defense. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is New England and the Philadelphia Union. And I think eventually I'm going to have to do a video talk about the New England Revolution and the fact that, again, on paper, when you look at where they are in the standings, it's been an amazing season for the New England Revolution. How much is this the fact that they are just like what I said about Charlotte, maybe considered to be on fraud alert watch, because they have played a lot of easy opponent this season, and this game kind of unfortunately fits the narrative again where they get an easy team playing at home, and they were actually down for majority of this game as well. But if there's one thing that New England has always find ways to do, especially when they're playing at home, they always find a way to win at the end of the game, and that sometimes could be just as good of a trait to have, where you always will find a way to win games, even though when you're not playing at your best. And we saw it again in this one, but also a combination of the fact that there's a reason why the Philadelphia Union is dead last in the Eastern Conference this year. In the first half, the first shot of the game was put the first shot of the game for the Union. Oh God, I forgot who that I didn't put the name of the players that put this one wide. So let me just quickly look here. Who was the player that puts this one wide? It was actually Jack, the one that puts this one wide. He had another chance that missed wide from long range in the 9th minute before Alado would miss wide from the corner in the 11th minute. The shots were two apiece early in this one as well, but the Union actually I thought was the better team early in this one. In fact, for the majority of the game, the Union was actually the better team against New England in this one. John Jug would then puts it wide from close range before Sands would hit it over from close, as both of these teams started to get some half chances. But the question is, who can finally get that opener? Well, the answer is the Philadelphia Union, and they can thank Will Sands here because, yeah, Will Sands forget that he was playing for the New England Revolution and not the Philadelphia Union, because he definitely felt like he was playing for the Philadelphia Union with a great finish there to poke this one in. Problem was, it was the wrong net. So yeah, that gives a goal for the Union. The Union will definitely take it. I mean, with the way that the Union has really struggled to score goals, you'll take your opponent helping you out. And yeah, 1-0 was the score line for the Union. Lukic then trying to make it 2-0, but he puts this one wide from long range. But we do head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. In the second half, Sullivan would miss wide from close before Alado would miss wide from close in the 57th minute. The Union definitely has started to once again put a lot of control in this one. And now you're thinking maybe they can do the unthinkable. Maybe they can beat New England. I mean, it just feels like this was one of those games where even though New England has been in these games where they have not looked at their best, maybe times are starting to catch up to them. Where if you're not gonna look good in every single game or at least most of your game, eventually you're going to get burned in some sorts. Turner would deny Sullivan, but then fall to Alado, whose shot was blocked off the line, and that really kind of sums up Alado tenure with the Philadelphia Union. He has just been completely snake bitten, just cannot find a goal whatsoever. And in the 61st minute, really completely out of nowhere, Langoni would score from heel to tie the game up, completely against the run play. It was an absolute banger, which is kind of the theme of this week. And just like that, it is 1-1 in this one. Turgeman then looked for another, but he hits this one wide, and all of a sudden the momentum was with New England. I mean, again, up to this point, New England was not in this game, but they keep doing this where even though when they're not at their best, magically they would score a goal, and now they're back into this game. Lukic would miss one from long range in the 70th minute before Miller would puts it wide in front of goal, but then in the 87th minute, the Maestro would score. Carlos Hill would score to make it 2-1 in favor of New England, and they did it again. The refs, I mean, I don't know how they keep getting away with this, with them not playing at their best, especially against bad teams. But they just keep winning. It's now 6 wins to start the season at home for the New England Revolution. It's the first time in franchise history that has happened for this club. And the shots in this one, 10 shots with 11 that the Union has. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 4 shots off target with a 7 that the Union has. Both teams had 3 shots on block, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% the Union has in this one. And as I said, I just kind of feel like they simply can't keep getting away from this New England. I say this almost every week when they don't play well, even against some bad teams lately, but they did it again. And we'll see whether or not if they can keep track of that. There is no doubt that I'm not surprised a lot of people are not thinking the New England Revolution is a real contender because, as I said, this season they have been kind of the kings when it comes to taking advantage of teams that they should beat. And because of the way that this season the East doesn't really have a lot of good contender. I mean, some might say we'll see what they'll do when they face against Miami or Nashville, when those are really the two teams you could maybe say they're contender. Even against Chicago as well. We'll see how they would do, but for now they're just taking care of business against teams that they should beat. Even though there's times where they haven't been at their best, they have a couple of difference maker on this team that just magically pop up and score the goals, and that's exactly what we saw in this game again. All right, so now moving on, we got Dallas and RSL, and I know I said before that I expect this is a game that there should be a lot of goals, and it feels like every time I said that, the opposite happened. But hey, for once, there was goals in this one, and at least I said that there was gonna be a lot that is scored by one team, and that's exactly what Dallas did in this one against RSL. Though in the first 15 minutes, it looked like it was a big jinx because yeah, nothing really happened in the first 15 minutes. In fact, the first shot of the game in the 18th minute, went into the back of the net as Santi Moreno finally scored his first in a Dallas shirt. He's been kind of mediocre doing his time with Dallas. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what happened when Lucho Acosta was on this team. But hey, even though Lucho Acosta was mediocre with Dallas, he at least scored a couple of goals. And Santi Moreno seems like he's going to eventually kind of pop into this moment scoring some goal out of nowhere. So yeah, he scored here from Musa to give Dallas a 1-0 lead, and then they make it 2-0 not long after as Kayike would get on the score sheet here. Cabral did deny Musa there, but Kayike was in the right place, right time to clean up that mess. So in a blink of an eye, Dallas were 2-0 up in this game against RSL. Caliscan did look to answer, but it was tipped over by Collodi on a shot cross there. RSL definitely responded well. They were creating some good half chances of their own. Salons would head it wide from close in the 42nd minute before Musa would miss wide from close in the 44th minute, and we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 2-0. In the second half, just like the first half, not much really happened in the beginning of the second half as well. Gilovugi would then hit it right to Collodi in the 59th minute before Musa hits it wide from close as the game started to really open up a bit. Started to become very end-to-end as what I expected with both of these teams having some really good difference maker. Cabral would deny Valente from close before he tipped Uragide header over in the 73rd minute as Dallas was pressing to try to get that third goal to put this game to bed. Farrington would miss high from long range in the 84th minute, but then the 85th minute, Moon Boy made an appearance here as Diego Luna continued to make his case of why he should be on the national team. I mean, it's getting to a point where I simply don't think he should be left out of the national team. I think he has to be included into the national team. Even for a guy that maybe is going to be an impact sub, he's going to be a guy that can definitely make the be a difference maker for the U.S. in this World Cup. And again, he's making his case. He's having an incredible season so far with RSL as he scored here from Gilawiki and Catranes to make this game interesting. And Hezekani almost it up at two apiece, but he puts it wide off a deflection. All of a sudden, Dallas was holding on for dear life because RSL, they were pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. But then in the third minute stoppage time, Dallas does put this one away. As Sam Sarver does his typical beast mode there, pretty much went coast to coast there from the other end, just completely outpace everybody. I mean, he's. I gotta say, Sam Sarver has started to give me some Ezenio kind of vibe. There's a reason why I always say whenever a super sub it brings me an Ezenio vibe because Ezenio is probably considered to be the best super sub we have ever seen in league history during his time, where he's just feels like it's a cheat code every time he comes off the bench for the Philadelphia Union, and it feels like Sam Sarver has that similar energy as well. Just an absolute cheat code for this Dallas team. He's going to give you a lot of energy coming off the bench, and he did here. Just pretty much went coast to coast there and scored the third goal to put the lights out at Toyota Stadium. And yeah, in the end, Dallas big win against RSL in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if both of these teams might be meeting each other in the playoffs because these are two really good teams this season. Shots in this one, 12 shots with 11 that Dallas had, 6 shots on goal with a 3 that RSL had, 3 shots off target with a 4 that Dallas had, 1 shot was blocked with a 6 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 68% possession compared to 32% possession that Dallas has in this game. I didn't think it was a bad game for RSL. I mean, they find themselves back in this one, but obviously it's always going to be tough when you face a 2-0 deficit when you're on the row in Dallas. Unlike certain teams that we've seen in the past, they don't usually blow 2-0 thing leads relatively easily. And yeah, like I said, big win for Dallas in this one, especially against an RSL team that I would say RSL is kind of starting to become a little bit inconsistent, and this is kind of what I go back to what I said about the New York Red Bulls as well. When you play young players like that, there's going to be some times where things could be a little inconsistent. I do think that RSL, especially in the beginning of the season with all these youngsters, kind of maybe playing a little punching above their weight. Eventually it is starting to kind of they're gonna cool down a bit, and we're maybe starting to seeing that a little bit with some of these youngsters. Not really being on cloud nine like what we seen before. No, I say that, but they did have an incredible performance against the Portland Timbers in the last game as well. Now, moving on into the next game is Nashville and DC United. And I gotta say, this game was kind of interesting because DC, they dominated this one for majority of the play. Well, I wouldn't say dominant is the right word. There were definitely some good spell for Nashville as well, but it looks like DC was gonna pull off the big upset, and you wouldn't be surprised that is the case because Nashville, just like LAFC coming Champions Cup loss. It feels like they have to pay the tax in this one. But then the red card happened. And how many times we said red cards change game, and it definitely changed how this game worked. In the first half, Hopkins would hit it right to Schwalke after just 20 seconds in before Rollis would hit it wide from the corner. It was a good start for DC. They definitely were on the front foot and trying to get the opener. Schwalke would deny Patella from long range before he denied Hopkins from close in or in the 23rd minute, that is. But in the 25th minute, DC would make that pressure paid off as Montano would score from Hefty and Cervania to make it 1-0 in favor of DC. And then not long after, they would score again as Lucas Bartlett would score from Kurakawa to give DC a 2-0 lead here. A little ahead of myself in terms of this game eventually tying up. But this goal actually originally was rule offside. They go to VAR to see whether or not if that was not the case, and it wasn't. It was actually a good goal. Bartlett stayed himself onside here, and just like that, DC is up 2-0 in this one, and I'm pretty sure that this crowd, they were not accustomed to this. I mean, they usually don't see their Nashville side being played off the park like this, but it's kind of expected. Again, it's safe to say that Nashville they're paying the CONCACAF Champions Cup tax right now. That tough loss they had against Tigres, now coming back from league play on a short rest like that, and with the way that just like them in LAFC. They play a lot of games. They've pretty much been playing 3 games in 7 days. The only difference is Nashville has done a much better job in terms of rotating their roster compared to what we see with LAFC, and that's kind of the reason why they actually have still kind of for the most part stay above water, unlike LAFC that is kind of starting to fall apart. Because of the fatigue factor of the CONCACAF Champions Cup and league playing. Espinoza did look to respond, but he hits it right to Johnson before Espinoza would hit to Johnson again the 40th minute. Nashville started to get into this game a little bit, trying to get one back. You expect that is the case. I mean, Nashville was not just going to lay down in this one. There's a reason why they are number one this season in the Eastern Conference. But there's also a reason why Johnson was signed with East United, because he can have these kind of game where he can stand on his head a little bit, deny Mule from close in the 41st minute before Merwin hits it wide from the corner in the 44th minute, and all of a sudden DC was just kind of limping to halftime with 2-0 because Nashville, they were definitely feeling it, trying to get themselves a goal back. We do head to halftime with DC leading 2-0 in this one. In the second half, Schwalke denied Hopkins from close range before Pautala missed one from long range, and all of a sudden it feels like DC makes some adjustment. I mean, whatever Renovaler did in terms of making some adjustment after they were under a little bit of siege late in the first half, it worked because now DC were pressing to try to get the third. But in the 61st minute, Palacio did look like he got one back for Nashville. Problem is, they go to VAR to see whether or not if he was offside. Yeah, he was offside. It wasn't close either. He was at least a yard or two offside. So yeah, the goal was chopped up. It was still 2-0 in favor of the visitor. Lovitz would then head it wide from close range in the 71st minute, but then the 75th minute, this is the moment that changed this game. As Hefty unfortunately get his second yellow card of this game, so DC were down to 10, and Nashville wastes no time to capitalize that because just a minute after the sending off, Madrigal would get one back for Nashville to make it 2-1 in this one. He then looked for another not long after in the 82nd minute, but he puts it wide there. DC was once again in survival mode. Nashville was pressing hard again to try to get the equalizer, and this time the pressure was able to pay off, and DC unable to ride that pressure off because in the 89th minute, Madrigal would score again. This time he scored from Nahar and Wolize to make it 2-2 in this one. Espinoza had a chance to make it 3-2, but the post got in the way. This was a deflected shot that hit the work. So yeah, Nashville was inches away of doing another spectacular comeback, similar to what we saw Minnesota did against Columbus, being 2-0 down, come back and win 3-2 in the game. But both of these teams will settle for a point in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots with 11 that DC had. Both teams had 7 shots on goal, 6 shots off target with a 2 that DC had, 2 shots was blocked for the 8 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 70% possession compared to 30% possession that DC has in this game. And like I said, you know no coming out of this game, I've said before how throughout this review that there are some teams that are a little bit disappointed coming out with just a point, especially for both of these teams. I think this is one of those games where both of these teams will definitely settle for a draw. I mean, for Nashville, great comeback in this one. I don't think a lot of people will blame the fact that they lose this one because, like I said, they have to pay the CONCACAF Champions Cup tax after they're losing in the middle of the week and have to travel back from Mexico. That's always going to be tough, especially for a team that played so many games in the last couple of months. But their depth once again showcase. And for DC, I mean, yes, I know it's disappointed that you blow it to nothing lead, but considering the fact that they were a woodwork away from potentially dropping all 3 points in this one, and considering the fact that if you ask DC fans that you come into this game against Nashville, even against a tired Nashville side, you can get at least a point out of this game, a place that not a lot of teams is able to get a point out of Geoda Stadium. I think a lot of DC fans would take it, and I think they'll still take it, even though they weren't able to hold on to get all 3 points because, like I said, it's not easy to play against Nashville this season. Nashville is a really good team, especially at home, and if you can even get a point out of them, it's always going to be considered a win, even if they if it doesn't look like it with the way how DC kind of fumbled that 2-0 lead away late in this game. With that being said, I am now going to change the board. I'm actually going to erase both board right now because now I'm going to be talking about the late West Coast game to finish up this mega review of match week number 12. All right, so next up we got Colorado versus St. Louis City, and there's no doubt that there were definitely some very questionable calls in this one that made a lot of Rapids fans upset, and we'll definitely get to it. But in the first half, Durkin with the game's first shot, but missed one on the chip from the halfway line after Hansen gave the ball away there. So Hansen, of course, getting the start in this one, and he definitely looked shaky in the beginning as well. I'm not quite sure why Stefan didn't play in this one. I think he suffered an injury, but nevertheless, yeah, that was a definitely a nervy moment there for Hansen there to give a goal of a mistake like that coming back into the starting 11. But not much really happened despite that chance. In fact, the shots were only 1-0 20 minutes into this game. Berkey denied Yappy as that was Colorado's first shot of the game, but then in the 25th minute, this is what I was talking about earlier. This was probably the loudest I've celebrated for a team that's not named Minnesota or the San Jose Earthquakes, because you know how much I love Sunbin. I mean, I've always been a proud supporter of Sunbin, and even though he has had his rough time during his time with Minnesota, he is still a guy that I am well, they truly love, and I really miss him during his time with the Loons, even though it didn't quite work out. But yeah, he finally scored his first goal for St. Louis from Betcher and Berkey to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead, and it came off of a lightning counterattack as well. It was a route one ball from Roman Berkey. Betcher basically sets it up to Sunbin, and Sunbin was able to finish that one for his first goal for St. Louis as well. Manungu did look to answer, but he missed wide in the 31st minute. But we do head to halftime with St. Louis leading 1-0 in this one. Kind of a bit of a shocker because a lot of people thought Colorado was going to walk away with an easy win, considering St. Louis is not having a great start to the season. But then this is where we get to the controversial call of the night. And I do agree that Rapids fan has right to be angry about this call because apparently this was a dog show on holding, even though I don't think there was a lot of contact. I mean, it didn't look like it was pretty egregious. It looks like maybe Betcher kind of sold it a little bit. I mean, I've seen it before in other games where that has happened and the referee doesn't call it. So yeah, in my opinion, that was incredibly soft. I don't think Rob Holding should be sent off in this one. And apparently, Colorado did try to appeal this to this though. To see whether or not if they can reprehend the red car, and Disco says no. So yeah, again, and that I think is even more surprising because I thought that was probably not a red car. I think that was the wrong call, and you would have thought maybe Disco would think about correcting that mistake, but no. Seems like Rob Holding is going to be missing this upcoming game against Minnesota. But most importantly, the Wolves were down to 10 men up to this point, and just like the first half, not much really happened in this half as well. Ever since the red card, Betcher would put it wide from long range before Harrington would head it wide on a rare opportunity for the Rapids up to this point. The post would deny McSorley from close, and yeah, that is one that McSorley would want to have back. I mean, he hasn't been getting a lot of minutes, which is kind of criminal to say because I feel like he definitely should be getting more minutes. I'm pretty sure all St. Louis fans demanding Johan Dame to give him more minutes alongside with Jonah as well. But yeah, that should have been two nothing for St. Louis because now you leave the door open for the Rapids. I mean, the Rapids haven't had a lot of chances, but they're starting to fight back late in this one. Navarro had a shot that was deflected wide. Aronson had a free kick that was tipped over there from Berkey. And again, despite a man down, the Rapids they know that yeah they're playing a home game. I think up to this point they didn't realize that they're playing at home because this is kind of very unlike them in terms of not playing well at home. And now they're really starting to grow into this game and look for the equalizer. And the doubts are starting to kind of came in the St. Louis side. When you're a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence and have rarely won this year, there's always going to be that doubt, even if you're a man up. Leuven would miss high from long range before Harto puts it wide from close in the 85th minute. And then we had some 10v10 soccer because Chris Durkin would get a second yellow card in this one. This one was the right call in my opinion. But yeah, it's 10v10 soccer, and this is when you know that, yeah, for St. Louis, that doubt of them holding on, now it just got even much more because now that we're back in even strength, now the Rapids are really putting the pressure to try to tie this game up. It started with Navarro puts it wide on the header, and again with this back being even, Colorado they were pushing hard to try to get this equalizer. St. Louis was kind of holding on for dear life a bit. Manungu would miss an absolute sitter from 3 yards out on the header. Yeah, that is one that Georgie Manungu would want to have back. He's been kind of getting off to a bit of a slow start doing his time with the Rapids ever since signing from the Seattle Sounders as well. They've been kind of putting him as a starter at times, which again I get that Manungu is a guy guy that definitely has quality. The to maybe get some starting minutes, and I think that's kind of what he wants to. That's maybe the reason why he moved away from Seattle. He wanted to get the opportunity to be more of a starter for another team. But I always feel like he makes much more impact and looks much better when he's come off the bench. And yeah, so far. For we have seen some good spell from Manungu, but still, his finishing is just not there right now for the Rapids, and this was another game of it. Travis would then puts it over from close in the 8th minute of stoppage time, but in the end, after St. Louis was really crunching those butt cheeks late in this one, they do hold on to get a much needed win in this one. It's only the second win that they have so far this season. A 1-0 road win against the Rapids. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 10 that St. Louis had, one shot on goal compared to two that the Rapids had. Yeah, it's safe to say that this was not one of those games where there was a lot chances, especially on target. 5 shots off target for both of these teams. 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that St. Louis has in this game. And I know Rapids fans are going to be very upset in terms of the red card, but at the end of the day, they just didn't play well in this game. Even before the red card, they did not play play well, and this is starting to be a bit of a concern if you're the Rapids, because as much as I know, no, Matt Wells has preached the fact that they play well and that their record doesn't really showcase that they're actually a much better team than what their record is. At the end of the day, as the old saying goes, your record your basically says what you are. You are what your record says, and right now the Rapids are not playing well right now. I mean, I know they also have gone through a tough stretch as well, but this was supposed to be one of the game against the team near the bottom of the standings, and you're playing at home, which has been something that they have took advantage, and to not be able to get even a point out of this game, that's got to be very disappointing. Even though I know Rapids fan will be feeling that they kind of got robbed by the referee because the red card, of course, happened in the 51st minute, which I don't think that's a red card. I think that was a very harsh decision. But that being said, moving on in the next match. And actually, I forgot to write the timestamp in one of the games, so I gotta make sure I do that. But anyway, moving on into the next one is an absolute massacre we see in this game between the Portland Timbers and Sporting KC. And yeah, for once, the Portland Timbers able to win a game, not relying on late stoppage time winner. Who knew that they were able to allow to do that? Although I guess they're allowed to do that when you're facing against a Sporting KC side that I'm not even gonna exaggerate, but this might be the worst team we have ever seen in MLS history. I mean, and that's saying a lot because we have seen some bad MLS team, and I might even do a video talk about them compared to some of the worst MLS teams to ever play. But you just look at how things have gone for the Sporting KC side. I mean, to say that things have hit rock bottom for this team in these last couple of weeks is just kind of putting it lightly. I mean, they are just digging below bedrock with the way things have just absolutely collapsed with this team and this deep rebuild that they're going through. I don't think it's growing pains anymore. It's just constant, the nonstop pain, and this is another example of it. And in the first half, not even 6 minutes into this game, on the game's first shot of the game, it's in the back of the net for the Portland Timbers. Christopher Valde, he scored from DaCosta and Kelsey to make it 1-0 in favor of the Timbers. And then on the second shot of the game, it's also in the back of the net, as Kevin Kelsey would score from DaCosta and Bassett to make it 2-0 in favor of the Portland Timbers. And then on the third shot of the game, it's also in the back of the net, as Cole Bassett would score from Kelsey and Valde to make it 3-0 in favor of the Portland Timbers. And I thought, not only the fact that this could be a long night for Sporting KC, I mean, that's just kind of putting it kindly as well. I mean, they have just not showed up whatsoever. Their defense is pretty much non-existent. It's then like when you're allowing free shots and all of them goes into the back of net, yeah, it's. I mean, it's crazy to say that. Remember, I said a couple of weeks ago that Orlando City are still on versus concede 90 plus goal, and I didn't think another team would do that. Sporting KC is actually right there alongside with Orlando City in terms of the amount of goals that they conceded. It is mind-boggling that we are seeing two teams that are on pace of not only break the record for the most goal conceded in MLS history, but are not just going to break it, but absolutely smash it as well. Can you imagine we might see a season where there's going to be two teams that can see 90 plus goal? Yeah, that just shows you the fact that this season there not only are some very bad teams, but there are some historic bad teams right now. And as I said, for the Sporting KC side, this might be one of the worst, if not the worst, MLS team we have ever seen in league history. And they're on point of breaking was in the wrong fashion of giving up the most goal and maybe even have among the fewest points that an MLS team has ever got in a single season. Garcia did look to respond, but he puts it over from long range. But then the 26th minute, this actually doesn't count as a shot. But again, every time the Portland Timbers go on the attack, it feels like it's always in the back of net, and that's what happened here as Jake Davis scoring own goal there. You can cue the Benny Hill music there because yeah, this was one where they tried to clear the ball away. It bounced off of Davis. A little bit unfortunate, but that's just been kind of the season for Sporting KC, and just been that kind of game for Sporting KC as well. So 4-0 in favor of the Portland Timbers on only 3 shots so far in this game. Kelsey did look to make it 5, and this actually was a 4th shot for the Portland Timbers. And for once, it didn't end up in the back of net. I think that was kind of the most surprising thing factor in this game. But we do head to halftime with the Portland Timber absolutely slaughtering Sporting KC. I mean, this is already a game that not many people pay attention because we have the 2 big games I was talking about on the other board, and I think after 26 minutes, nobody was pretty much paying attention in this one whatsoever because it was a long gone conclusion that this game was long over. In the second half, Pantemis denied Jovic as that was the first real chance that Sporting KC has had up to this point. He then denied Kambit from close range. Much better second half, and they have to. I mean, there's just no way that Sporting KC can get even worse than what they did in the first half. But again, is this because of the fact that the Timbers completely switched off the pressure, really kind of just dial it back and just kind of hit cruise control and right their easy win in this one. And then knowing that there's also a midweek game, I think Phil Neville does the right thing, knowing that yeah, this game is long done. You might as well just bring in the backup brigade and see what they can do, and they definitely did some damage too. The backup brigade for the Timbers. Cleveland denied Ariana from close range before Lassiter puts it high from close. The backup brigade they definitely looking to join the goal scoring fest that the Timbers were putting, and they do. As in the 71st minute, Lassiter would make it 5-0. It was a beautiful free kick there as well. And then not long after, Kevin Kelsey would score from Lassiter and Arviana to make it 6-0 up to this point. Kelsey then looked to try to get a hat trick for the Portland Timbers, which would be historic. This will be the first ever hat trick that the Timbers have scored. So anytime when the Timbers score a lot of goals, you're just thinking, is this going to finally be the night that the curse is going to be broken? And there's a reason why there is still that curse because it feels like it's almost been written that when you're join the Portland Timbers, you can forget about maybe scoring a hat trick in a league game because it has never happened and it still hasn't happened, even though Kelsey tried to finally end that curse. But still, to this day, the Portland Timbers still have not had a player score a hat trick in an MLS game. Pentemis would then deny Reed from close range. I mean, for Pentemis, he did have to make a couple of save in this one. I mean, I know his team was up 6-0. But if you're a goalkeeper, the last thing you want is give up a goal and give up your clean sheet. And the good news for Pandemis, and especially for this Portland Timbers defense that has been just so bad this season, get a clean sheet in this one. 6-0 is the final score of this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that Sporting KC had, 3 shots on goal for the 6 that the Timbers had. 3 shots off target for the 6 that Sporting KC had. 1 shot that was blocked for the 5 that the Portland Timbers had. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. I mean, just a one-way traffic kind of game. And as I said, for Sporting KC, they are on verge of becoming probably the worst MLS team to ever play in a season. And I know some people will say, well, the easy fix is maybe fire the head coach. And I know that, Raphael Wiki is going to get a lot of blame for this, especially how the season is. I don't think getting rid of the head coach is going to really change things. I mean, this team is in such a mess right now that I mean it's gonna be taking a total rebuild, which they're on the verge to do so, and maybe even nuke more of the front office staff on this team to really get things going, and most importantly, maybe even sell Jovic and Garcia with some asset because I do feel bad for both of those guys, especially for Jovic as well. I don't think he deserved to be on this team. He is doing his best here. I wouldn't be surprised in the summer that there might be teams that are looking for it. And I also don't blame him the fact that he requests a trade as well because why would he want to waste his time being on arguably the worst team we have ever seen in MLS history? And as I said, it might sound like an exaggeration, but you look at the underlying number as well. I mean, they are among the worst team we have ever seen, and yeah, it's a long roll back for the Sporting KC side. It just feels like every single week we just kind of find how much lower can this team get, and yeah, I mean we'll see how that's going to be. And this is why Sporting KC is now really becoming the Santa Claus of MLS this season. They're just gifting 3 points every single week, and that's also kind of puts a little more indictment the fact that if you don't beat Sporting KC, that might be a bad look on you. And for the Portland Timbers, that's kind of what it is. I even said that for Phil Neville, I feel like he was playing for his job in this one. Imagine if he loses the Sporting KC in this one, or even get a draw in this one. His job would definitely be on the line. But hey, yeah, at least it's safe for another week. It feels like Phil Neville was just kind of doing that balancing act where every time his job is being questioned, he does exactly this to kind of keep his job. But we'll see whether or not if that's going to be enough, especially the fact that I feel like lately the Portland Timbers is doing something thing I've see Phil Neville has done all the time, which is a team that just kind of been inconsistent. I mean, it feels like it's a very Phil Neville kind of type of team to be very inconsistent, where you have one game that look like good like this, where they look absolutely godly against arguably a USL championship type of team, and then watch out the next game they're gonna go back to old ways and look like a very bad Portland Timber side, and everybody's gonna question the Phil Neville shot again. But that being said, I'm actually not even gonna stop the video to switch the board. I'm just gonna switch the board manually because this is the last time. I'm going to switch the board here, fourth time in this video, which is a new record. I don't think I've ever switched the board 4 times. But yeah, I'm now going to be talking about the 2 games that I actually watched on Saturday, because really these are the only 2 games that I was able to watch on Saturday. And for those wondering how in the world I was able to watch this game even though I was attending this one, well, whenever I go to PayPal Park, I always tends to go to the standing room only section. There's like a table there where I could just put my phones and watch the other game as well. So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I was able to keep an eye on both of these games at the same time. So let's start with Seattle versus San Diego, the game that I was kind of paying attention on my phone while this game, of course, was going on. And yeah, for the Seattle Sounders, I said that Sporting KC, they're like the Santa Claus of MLS, giving points away, and if you don't take advantage of it, that's a huge indictment to your club. Well, yeah, the Sounders, they did drew 1-1 against that team. So yeah, that's definitely not good. And what's also not good is them drawing 1-1 to San Diego, as well as this Seattle team. Again, these last 2 games, it's got to be very frustrating if you're a Sounders fan. 2 teams that you would say that they easily should get 3 points against them, and they don't do so in this one. And a big reason why in these 2 games is the fact that their finishing has been really bad in these last two games, and the lack of goal scoring that the Sounders team has had is really starting to catch up to this team. Now, in the first half, Morris would miss wide from close range. As expected, Seattle was on the front foot looking to try to get the early lead. The first shot for San Diego, see Pellegrino puts it wide from long range. Brunel would then puts it high from long range in the 12th minute, but then the 18th minute, completely against the run of play, Igverson would score from Valakari and Godoy to make it 1-0 in favor of San Diego. So Marcus Igverson continued to be red hot right now for the San Diego side. And again, just completely against the run of play. San Diego really never got into this game until this chance. And just like that, they leaded 1-0 on the road against Seattle. And you're thinking, is this finally going to be the game that the curse might end after I made a video talk about San Diego and this long winless run that they had? Pellegrino then looked to try to make it 2-0, but he was denied by Thomas. But there was no doubt the momentum was with San Diego. Seattle, they just completely lost control of this game since the opener, and I don't blame them. They just got completely sucker punched as a result. Though they look like they got the equalizer in the 30th minute when Jordan Morris puts it into the back of the net. Problem was he was offside, and he was not offside by much. Maybe about a half yard or so, but still the goal was chopped off for offside. Rothrock would then puts it over from close to the 36th minute. The shots were 7-4 for the Sounders 37 minutes in. Morris would then hits it over on the doorstep of goal before Dreyer on the other end would puts it wide from close in the 44th minute. But we do head to halftime with San Diego leading 1-0, and you're thinking, is this maybe finally the night that the losing run or the winless run is going to come to an end? In the second half, Brunel would miss wide from close in the 49th minute before Ingvarsson had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Godoy would then puts it high on the volley as the shots were 9-8 for the Sounders 16 minutes in. Both of these teams had a lot of chances in this one. There was a lot of shots in this one as well, which is not something I expected. Considering the Sounders tends to not let their opposition with a lot shot with how good their defense has been. Rothrock then had a shot that was blocked off the line in the 59th minute before on the other end, Dreyer would hit it right to Thomas. Rodon would then hit it right to Furry in the 69th minute. Both of these teams continue to exchange chances, but who can get that crucial next goal? Well, Muswaski tried to do so, but he hits it right to Furry in the 71st minute. There was a huge shout for a handball for the Sounders, not given not long after, and then the post would deny Muswaski from close range, and then Rusnak with fires it high at the top of the arc, and you're just thinking, is this like this the Sporting KC game all over again for the Seattle Sounders? Just no finishing ability whatsoever. Furry would then deny Muswaski, but Ferrer gets the rebound, but unfortunately his shot was deflected wide. But then in the 80th minute, and this has been coming, they finally found that clinical finishing the Seattle Sounder. It's Muswaski. He scored from Rodon and Rusnak. It came off of a set piece as well, and just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece. Muswaski then looked for another, but he hits this one wide, and yeah, the momentum all of a sudden was with the Sounders again. I mean, the momentum was already with the Sounders. They were really pressing hard late in this game to get a winner because I'm pretty sure the Sounders are not going to be happy the fact that they only get a 1-1 draw at this point. But that being said, San Diego themselves almost had a chance to get the winner as well as Thomas would deny Dreyer, but then Igvarsson was wide open here in the back post and he missed the target. I mean, I praised Ingvarsson in terms of him being red hot in the last couple of games, and he is. You know, he is scoring a lot of goals. But yeah, this is one that not only he want to have back, but this is kind of a goal, or this kind of moment that last season we've seen San Diego always capitalize these kind of moments where sometimes they might not be the better team, but they always find way to score the goals in clinical moments. And it's just not happening this season for San Diego. In fact, it's been the opposite this season, and that's why their winless run is now officially at double digit. 10 games without a win. They still have not won a single game since that victory that they had against Sporting KC. And knowing how bad Sporting KC is, I mean, yeah, it feels like they haven't really beat a real MLS team since the second game the season. But the shots in this one, like I said, a lot of shots. 27 shots for the 15 that San Diego has. 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Seattle has. 9 shots off target for the 5 that San Diego has. 4 shots off blocked for the 9 that the Sounders had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that San Diego has. And as I said before, in some of these games where neither of these sides going to be happy with a draw, I think this might be the same case. I mean, for San Diego, they were so close to finally end that winless run. Couldn't quite get the job done in the end. And for the Sounders, I mean, yes, they eventually does get that crucial equalizer, but you got to be very frustrated the fact that you're playing against one team that, as I said in Sporting KC, that was just gifting 3 points to everybody this season, and you don't take advantage of it. And now you face against a team that has the longest winless run in MLS and not get all 3 points at home. Yeah, that's got to be very frustrating for this Sounders team. And again, it all goes back to the fact that when you look at the amount of goals that they score. I mean, they are still very good defensively. They are still the best defensive team, but that only can take you so much when you're not scoring the goals. This team is one of the lowest goal scoring team in the Western Conference. In fact, the lowest goal scoring team I think right now out of any team that is above the red line right now, and that eventually is gonna be a problem. Like you know, you could be good defensively, but that can only go so much. The fact that you need to score goals. Goals is what win you games. And in these last couple of games, the Sounders have only scored 2 in the last 2 games, and it's just not been enough to get them all 3 points. Now, moving on into the last game. Yes, finally we have made it to the end of this to this review. It's been an epic long review, but we finally made it to the game that I went to. I feel like it's best the fact that I talk about this game last, knowing the fact that you know the old saying, better save the best for last, because this is the battle between two of the top teams, not only in the West but also in the entire MLS as well in the Supporters Shield standing. And in some way, it was kind of a little bit disappointing because you know for a battle between two top teams, you would have thought that there was going to be some haymaker, but in reality, you know, this is a game where I feel like for the San Jose Earthquakes, they are very lucky that they were able to escape with a point out of this one. Vancouver were by far the better team in this one, and it feels like after the Quakes score early in this one, they trying to play haram ball, and yeah, it didn't work out for them But as I said, they score early in this one, as Preston Judd would score from Murray and Vieira to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. That was also the first shot of the game as well, so definitely great start for the Quakes. Sadly, did look to answer, but he missed wide. The Quakes, they seems like they were happy to just sit back and try to counter in this game, and it turns out that was not a great strategy to do because they were getting pinned back for the most part. They just could not do anything on the counter attack. Caicedo would miss way wide from long range. The shots were only 2-1 for Vancouver 15 minutes in. It was kind of a bit very very tense kind of game at times. Kind of feel like a playoff game at time as well, with the way that there wasn't as much chances and feel like there was a bit of a feel out period early in this one. Laporta would then puts it high from long range. Besides the first goal, the Quakes, they have offered nothing going forward on the attack. They've been pinned back, just could not quite get any of the outlet ball whatsoever. Daniel would then deny White on the doorstep of goal before Judd with a rare opportunity for the Quakes, but he heads it wide from close range. There was then a shout for a penalty for the Quakes not given. So yeah, the fans, they were not happy about that, even though it was pretty clear that that was not a penalty. But don't tell that to Quakes fan because they immediately told the referee he sucks. Because yeah, you got to inform the referee he sucks, especially in a big game like this. Even though it was pretty obvious that was was not given as a penalty. I'll be shocked if that was giving a penalty there. But either way, we do head to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0 in the second half. Judd was in on goal there, but he only hits it right to Takoka. Daniel would then deny Kubas from close range. That moment started because the Quakes turned the ball over in that moment, and that would be a common theme in the second half as well. So much so that it got to a point where I was literally even talking to myself, and maybe at one point even kind of shouted, "Stop turning the ball over," because of the way that I was getting so frustrated of seeing this team just turning the ball over time and time again, especially in bad spot on. And when you do that against the Vancouver Whitecaps, it's usually a death sentence. White would then puts it wide from long range. The Whitecaps continue to pin the Quakes down with all the possession. Again, the Quakes, they just had no outlet ball whatsoever. And it's also kind of an important note to mention the fact that they did not have Timo Werner and Nico Jacaris. And judging by the injury report, in fact, this was actually just announced recently. Jacaris is not going to be available at least until early September. He just undergo go going surgery after he suffered that injury against Toronto FC. So that is a huge blow for the San Jose Earthquake side, and one that I'll pretty much repeat what I'll say a little later on. If this team is serious about competing for a supporter show and competing for MLS Cup, they need desperate reinforcement in the summer transfer window. It just feels like this team is just almost just limping their way to the World Cup break right now because of the lack of depth this team has had. But in the 58th minute, we had some chaos in the Quakes box. Daniel actually spilled a attempt there from Badwell, and he had a chance to put this one in on the rebound, but he was absolutely robbed by Daniel. So Daniel kind of made amends of a mistake that he made. But I thought the Quakes were playing with a lot of fire. Like you just feel like eventually they're gonna get burnt by this. Berhalter would then blast one to the supporter section. Caicedo would then fires it wide from the curler. That came after another bad turnover from the Quakes. And like I said, this is when I really started to just almost kind of shout at the crowd, stop turning the ball over, because this was getting absolutely ridiculous to see, and just kind of gets me very fiery to see the Quakes committing these bad turnover over and over again in the second half. The shots were 12-3 for Vancouver up to this point, but then the 77th minute, the breakthrough finally happened for Vancouver as Sebastian Berhalter would tie the game up at one apiece. It's been coming. It was a little fortunate as well because it took off a fortunate deflection right to Berhalter. The Quakes thought that he was in an offside position. He wasn't. There was a couple of Quakes players that played Berhalter on, and yeah, just like that, it was all tied up at one apiece. Sabi then looked for another, but he hits it right to Danielle, and then it gets them coming together. There was definitely some feistiness. That's is expected because, like I said, these this is a matchup between two of the best team in the league. You're going to have a lot of competitiveness that is going on, but then the crowd basically chanted F Vancouver, which yeah, that was definitely a choice. And I get it. I guess the fans were getting frustrated in terms of how things were going, but to chant at Vancouver, especially for a team that is on the verge of potentially losing the team, and we talk about the whole save the cap movement, that was definitely a choice to do that, and I don't think it was a great idea for the Quakes fans to do that. I mean, you gotta at least show some class too. That was definitely a little bit of a classless thing to say. Tacoca would then deny Vieira as the flag went up on a rare opportunity against for the Quakes. It wouldn't have mattered even if Vieira puts it in because the flag came up for offside. Jackson would then puts it wide from close range, but in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw on this one. The shots in this one, 17 shots compared to just 6 that the San Jose Earthquakes had. This is by far the fewest amount of shots that the Quakes have had this season. 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Whitecaps had. 8 shots off target compared to 1 that the Quakes had. 2 shots was blocked compared to 7 that Vancouver has. And possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And like I said, the Quakes, I feel like they are very lucky to get a point out of this game. Have the Whitecaps been more clinical, and this is kind of the thing that will frustrate Jasper Sorensen and the Whitecaps, where this kind of feels a little similar to the Galaxy game, where they look like the better team against their opposition on the road. They just couldn't quite find their finishing, and you also kind of wonder maybe whether or not if that's due to fatigue, because them themselves they're like the Quakes where they're also been battling some injury. Keep in mind Thomas Muller did not play in this one. He's still out with an injury, and it was pretty clear that his presence has really been missed in these last couple of games. And I would say the same thing about the Quakes missing Jacaris and Timo Werner. They just don't look the same team. I believe they try to put Bolaru in the Jacaris spots in that number 10 spot. Bolaru is not a number 10. He's not a creative kind of player. He's not going to be anywhere close to in terms of replacing the production that Jacaris left to this team. And this is why, as I said earlier before, if this team is serious about competing for support ratio, if this team is serious about competing for MLS Cup, which I know, no, I said before that feels like it's kind of a pipe dream, but hey, this is the reality we living right now. We are in this sort of alternate universe where now for once I'm actually serious about the Quakes really want to compete for trophy and compete for supporter show and even for MLS Cup. Because when you look at how deep we're into the season and where they are in the standings, if this team is serious about this, which I think they should, they need reinforcement badly. Because as I said, they're really limping toward the World Cup break. And there's no doubt that I think they'll still be near the top 4 because with the way that they build up so many points to begin the season, it would, even if they just lose their next couple of games, they'll still somehow be in the top 4. That is because right now pretty much everybody in the top 6 are able to get resort at all right now. But if there's one thing that this Quakes team absolutely need heading into the second half of the season after the World Cup break, they need reinforcement, and this is where on a team some teams that might have competent ownership that might not be a problem. Quakes don't have competent ownership, so that's where I am a little concerned heading into this World Cup break, where I'm just worried they're gonna do their typical thing of doing absolutely nothing, and if that is the case, that's gonna be very disappointing to see, and once again, just kind of bring out the frustrating part about supporting this team, where this is really almost a once in a blue moon kind of opportunity for the Quakes to do something special this season, and the ownership just kind of laugh at that and say, nah, we're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna keep this Finn roster that seems like, again, if they are not gonna get reinforcement, I don't think the run that they are is sustainable. I mean, Bruce Arena can do all his sorcery whatsoever, but if you don't have reinforcement, if you don't have depth, which this team clearly does not, we're gonna start to see the writing be on the wall of this team, and I think the writings has already started to be on the wall, at least in these last couple of games, where you can clearly see this team has kind of started to play back down to earth compared to what we saw early this season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at this game and also all the games, that is. I mean, I think we're pretty close to the 1.5 hour mark. I told you that this was the longest review of the year. Don't know if I'm gonna do something similar to that. Probably not. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna for this midweek action. I'm not gonna do 14 games at once. That's just absolutely insane. It's just gonna absolutely burn me out. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.